It happens in an instant. The sky above Times Square erupts in a blinding flash. In that moment, time seems to stop. But it doesn't. It accelerates. Because in the blink of an eye, millions of lives are erased. The heart of New York City, the center of commerce, culture, and chaos, is consumed by a roaring fireball. Buildings disintegrate. Glass shatters in every direction. Steel bends like paper. The once bustling streets become silent, vaporized by the sheer force of atomic fury. You're there. Somehow, incredibly, you survive. But as the smoke clears and the shockwave fades, a new terror begins, one you can't see, but that has already invaded your body. It's in your skin, your blood, your bones. Radiation. And what comes next may be worse than the explosion itself. A nuclear bomb doesn't just destroy buildings, it disrupts biology at the deepest level. It doesn't care who you are or what you believe. It doesn't discriminate between rich or poor, old or young, and it doesn't stop once the blast ends. It lingers, settles, and begins to poison everything that breathes. You may have escaped the fire, but you haven't escaped the fallout. Here's what would happen next. You're likely standing somewhere near Midtown Manhattan. The air is heavy. You cough, but it doesn't help. There's dust in your lungs and a buzzing in your ears. You can barely hear anything. Your hands are shaking. That's when the nausea begins. It's not from the shock. It's not from the trauma. It's from what's happening deep inside you. Your body has been hit with hundreds, possibly thousands of rems of radiation. That's a unit of measurement for absorbed radiation dose. For context, the average person picks up about 0.62 rem per year just from normal living, cosmic rays, sunlight, background radiation from the earth. Even eating a banana gives you a tiny bit. But this is different. This isn't nature. This is a weaponized dose designed to kill. If you were within 1 kilometer of ground zero, you could have received as much as 1,000 rem. That's more radiation than your body can process. It tears through your cells like bullets, shattering DNA and disrupting every natural system. At this level, there's no hiding. Your cells are already dying. But it doesn't happen all at once. In the beginning, it feels like a terrible case of the flu, vomiting, headaches, fever. Your skin feels like it's burning even if there are no visible flames. The radiation is attacking your gastrointestinal system, your immune system, and your reproductive system all at the same time. Within days, you'll start to bleed from your gums, your nose, and internally. Your body's platelets, the cells that help your blood clot, are gone. Your immune system collapses. Even a small cut could lead to a deadly infection. And if you're male, your sperm-producing cells will be damaged. You're temporarily sterile and may never recover. Your hair begins to fall out in clumps. If you've absorbed around 400 to 600 rem, your odds of survival hover at 50%. But survival doesn't mean healing. It means fighting for every hour, every breath, while your body breaks down from within. Most will die within 20 days. Not from the explosion, but from acute radiation syndrome, an invisible assassin that moves cell by cell. But what if you weren't in Times Square? What if you were a few miles away, outside the direct blast zone? Your experience would be different, but not necessarily safer. Radiation travels. And while the dosage would be lower, it would still have a lasting impact. Maybe you absorbed 10 to 20 rems. That won't kill you outright. You'll likely feel normal. For now. But in 2 years, maybe 5, maybe 10, you start to feel tired. You go to the doctor. They run some tests. And then they tell you something unexpected, leukemia. Your odds of developing blood cancers are 50% higher than someone who didn't experience that radiation. And it doesn't stop there. Lung cancer, liver damage, stomach tumors. Your risk of chronic illnesses skyrockets. Radiation may not have killed you immediately, but it's now a lifelong passenger, quietly waiting for its next move. So is there hope? Yes, but it's complicated. The first step in any radiation emergency is decontamination. If you're conscious and able, remove your clothes. Wash your body with soap and water. This doesn't remove internal radiation, but it can reduce your exposure by over 90%. Doctors will monitor your white blood cell count, an early sign of how deeply the radiation has attacked your bone marrow. If your count drops too fast, you'll need blood transfusions. You might be given drugs to stimulate cell growth or antibiotics to hold off infection. The timeline matters too. How fast you began vomiting tells doctors how much radiation you took in. Every second counts. But this isn't the first time the world has faced radiation on a massive scale. On April 26, 1986, in a quiet corner of Ukraine, the Chernobyl nuclear power plant exploded. A safety test went horribly wrong. A sudden power surge tore through the facility, causing a fire and releasing radioactive material into the atmosphere. The fallout was 400 times more powerful than the bomb dropped on Hiroshima. Inside the plant, workers were exposed to terrifying levels of radiation. Within 3 months, 28 had died. Over 140 others were diagnosed with acute radiation sickness. For some, the damage showed up years later: leukemia, thyroid cancer, chronic health conditions. And then, there was the milk. In the surrounding areas, cows grazed on radioactive grass. Their milk became contaminated with iodine-131, a radioactive isotope. Children who drank it were unknowingly consuming liquid cancer. Their tiny thyroids absorbed the radiation like sponges. Cases of thyroid cancer in those areas surged. The city of Pripyat was evacuated. A 30-kilometer exclusion zone was drawn, creating a ghost town frozen in time. Even today, Chernobyl remains one of the most dangerous places on Earth. Radiation levels have dropped over time, thanks to the decay of radioactive particles, but danger still lurks. Spend 2 weeks there, and you'll absorb the equivalent of multiple chest X-rays. Stay a year, and your exposure could reach lethal levels. And then there's the elephant's foot. This twisted mass of melted nuclear fuel and metal lies in the basement of Reactor 4. In the days after the explosion, standing near it for 5 minutes meant death. Today, it's still dangerously radioactive. It's been entombed in steel and concrete, but its glow remains, an eternal reminder of how quickly science can turn on us. But if radiation is this terrifying on Earth, imagine facing it in space. Fast forward to the year 2042. You're part of the first manned mission to Mars. It's the culmination of decades of dreams, sacrifices, and engineering marvels. But there's a threat on Mars that no engineering can fully overcome: radiation. Unlike Earth, Mars has no protective magnetic field. Its atmosphere is thin and patchy, barely there. That means cosmic rays, solar flares, and galactic radiation all slam into the surface without mercy. A single day on Mars exposes you to radiation levels 40 to 50 times higher than on Earth. What does that mean for your body? Faster aging, genetic mutations, increased risk of cancer, and potential neurological damage. Radiation in space doesn't just hit the surface, it penetrates deep, damaging cells in your brain, muscles, and organs. And then comes the solar maximum. Every 11 years, the sun enters a cycle of intense activity. Solar flares, coronal mass ejections, massive waves of radiation flooding space. If you're caught on the surface of Mars during one of these storms without proper shielding, you could be hit with over 3,000 rem. That's instant death. Your only hope? Shelter deep underground, perhaps in a lava tube or beneath a thick layer of Martian rock. Engineers dream of building radiation-proof habitats, but dreams don't stop solar storms. So what does all this mean? It means radiation is the ultimate invisible enemy, silent, invisible, and lethal. From bombs to meltdowns, from space travel to sunburns, it is both part of our world and a threat to it. But it also means that survival depends on knowledge, on preparation, on understanding that even in the face of unimaginable destruction, science can help us fight back. You survived the nuclear blast in Times Square. Maybe you fought through the sickness. Maybe you evacuated the fallout zone. Maybe one day you'll be walking through the ruins of Pripyat, Geiger counter in hand. Or looking out over the Martian plains, wondering what else the universe has in store. Because the story of radiation isn't just about death, it's about survival, it's about resilience, and it's about how we, as a species, learn to live with forces beyond our control. Thanks for watching. And if you want more mind-bending journeys like this, make sure you subscribe to Deep Space Digest, where we explore the science of the impossible and the future of what might be.